some of these pitchers I think are kind of fringe start options at this point. It's crazy to say, but Jared Jones, a rough outing. It was in Coors Field, but he has struggled even outside of this start. 4 2/3 innings, 6 runs allowed, had 6 strikeouts, and over his last 4 starts, it's a 5.85 ERA, 160 WHIP, over 5 walks per 9 in his last 4. Chris, Jared Jones is 60% started on CBS, and he's home against the Rays this week, which is actually a good matchup. So what do you think about Jared Jones?
Yeah, so the last time I looked into Jared Jones, I did a deep dive about a week ago, maybe more, and the biggest issue was lefties were hitting him really hard, especially his four-seam fastball. That doesn't seem like it would be much of a concern against the Rays. They don't have an especially worrisome left-handed core, so I'm still going to start Jared Jones. I know it's been a really frustrating stretch, but I still believe the talent level's super high, and I think he can get back on track this week.
Mackenzie Gore was awesome against the Marlins. 7 innings, 1 run, 10 strikeouts, had 25 whiffs on 103 pitches, and this was his 3rd start with double-digit strikeouts this season. He's only 55% started on CBS. Gets the D-backs this week. They are 2nd in WOBA against lefties, so a tough matchup there. Scott, start or sit Mackenzie Gore this week?
I lean towards sit. It was the Marlins that he did this against, and it was like he was just blowing them away with his fastball. It had a unusual profile in terms of vertical movement and horizontal movement. It was uncharacteristically dominant for Gore. It's usually his worst pitch, but he was able to just throw it 53% of the time and got half the whiffs on that fastball. So I don't know if that's going to be normally a formula for success for Mackenzie Gore. And obviously this is a much tougher matchup. Deep leagues where you don't have many choices, okay, you're probably starting Gore every week. But shallower leagues where you do have choices, I would lean against it.
Kevin Gausman's velocity was way down again. He was facing the Guardians this weekend. 5 1/3 innings, 3 runs allowed, had 6 strikeouts, only 10 whiffs, and he has just 6 quality starts in 14 outings this season. Chris, what do you think about Gausman? He is home against the Red Sox this week. They are 7th in WOBA versus righties.
I'm probably starting him, but I'm kind of reaching the point with Gausman where I just wonder if like he's just fine, like he's just decent and he's gonna have these stretches. Like we've seen several stretches from Kevin Gausman now where it's like, okay, he figured it out. He got 10 strikeouts. And then the next start, and then the next start is whatever. And I think that might just be what he is right now. And I'm not saying it's what he is forever, but I'm probably not going to fall for the next 10 strikeout start. We'll see. I may. But I at this point, I'm thinking no.
Freddy Peralta continues to struggle. He was up against the Reds this weekend. 5 1/3, 10 hits allowed, 6 earned, 2 home runs allowed in this start. And over his last 10 starts, that's now the majority of the season for Freddy Peralta. It's a 5.50 ERA, a 139 WHIP, and he is 72% started at the Angels this week. Scott, do you start or sit Freddy Peralta?
Against the Angels,
you start him.
Yeah, I probably start him, and I know it's been frustrating. This might just be part of the Freddy Peralta experience, because if you look at like the underlying ratios, they're all pretty similar to last year.
But remember, last year, I think on this date, he had a 4.73 ERA and a 4.85.
That's what I was going to say. His ERA was even worse at this time last year than it is now.
Yeah, I think that's just what he is.
Right.
Like I felt a little stupid about calling him a bust after the first, 4 or 5 starts, but consistency has always been inconsistent for him.
Jack Flaherty pitched well in his first start back after suffering that back injury. He was at the Astros, 5 shutout innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, and he is home against the White Sox. I think it's a slam dunk, right, Jack Flaherty?
Yes, start him. His fastball velocity was down a bit in this. I think it was his lowest of the season, coming back from the back issue. I should have read more about it, but I gathered he was still kind of pitching through that from some tweets I saw out there about the start, and so that might explain the reduced velocity. But he managed to gut it out in this start, and then the White Sox are obviously.
Yeah, that's the thing. How many matchups would you sit Jack Flaherty against right now?
Yeah, I think
At Coors, at New York Yankees.
I think he's mostly a must-start pitcher. It's just the
It's
fact
just
that
the
Magilo
back.
was down a little bit in the back.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I think he's earned the benefit of the doubt.
Charlie Morton pitched well against Tampa Bay, 6 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, had 22 whiffs on 105 pitches, and he has been pretty inconsistent from start to start this season. He's at the Yankees this week, 49% started.
I think Charlie Morton is firmly in, if you can't start him in his next start, you can drop him territory, and his next start's at New York. So I'm not saying you have to drop him, but I think he's totally dropped.
He was so good in this start.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is that when players he's 40.
Mm-hmm.
When players get to this point in their career, they can still have those moments. It's just they can't do it consistently. Like I think about Dwayne Wade talked about, he could still dunk at the end of his career. It was the landing that was a problem. That's kind of where Charlie Morton is in his career. Where
I think he needed orthotics.
I think he was just old. Dunking's hard.
Listen,
It's pretty hard.
listen. I'm the only 40-year-old. I'm only dad on this podcast. I'm only 40-year-old on
And
this
you
podcast.
can't even dunk.
I can't dunk. I thought I was getting old, and I was just getting these getting old kind of pains, and then I got orthotics in my shoes. Changed everything, guys. I'm a big believer in orthotics.
Love it. Love to hear it. All right, couple other quick starter sits. Jesus Luzardo, the velocity was way down. It turns out I watched an interview afterwards. He woke up with a sore back. The team was aware, and he just was pitching through lower velocity. He's home against the Mariners this week.
I mean, even against that matchup, it's hard to go away from him. But boy, like his fastball has been bad all season, and it was like averaging 95. And that was down about 1.3 miles per hour from last year. So I'm pretty low on Jesus Luzardo moving forward. I'm pretty worried about it. I think I'd sit him.
It strikes me as he's hurt, right? He's pitching hurt.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know he's pitching hurt, but this is what it would look like if he was pitching hurt.
Yeah.
And so I'm worried he's hurt. Now, I said that about Max Fried earlier in the year, and he got a lot better all of a sudden. But I'm worried, too, about Jesus Luzardo.
Dylan Cease got crushed at the Mets, 3 2/3, 7 runs, 2 homers allowed in this start. His last 7 outings, it's a 6.27 ERA and a 150 WHIP. And Dylan Cease is home against the Brewers this week. They are 4th in WOBA against right-handed pitching.
I'm starting.
Yeah, me too. I think I missed this game. Yeah, well, I'm glad Dylan Cease. He walked some guys in this start, but his struggles recently haven't been walk-related, which I take as a very good sign, actually.
Yeah, I mean, his walk rate for the season is 6.9%. That's like 3 percentage points better than his career best.
Yeah. He is giving up some harder contact and more barrels than we're used to seeing, but for the most
because
part,
he's throwing more strikes.
Yeah,
it could be. Bailey Ober looked much better against the Oakland A's, 6 1/3, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, had 17 whiffs on 96 pitches. He leaned a little bit more on his fastball and changeup. Changeup was really good in this start, and he is at Oakland again this upcoming week. How do you guys feel about Bailey Ober?
So Bailey Ober, the biggest thing for him this season is the fastball's been getting crushed, and he gave up 6 balls in play with an average exit velocity of 95.8 miles per hour with the fastball today or this weekend. So that was today, right? So that wasn't great, but at Oakland, at Arizona versus Detroit, at Chicago White Sox, at San Francisco is his next 5 starts leading up to the All-Star break. I kind of think I'm just starting him for all of them unless, obviously if he goes out against Oakland the second time and struggles, then the conversation changes, but that's a really good schedule the rest of the way. So I think the tenor of the conversation is going to be different about Bailey Ober at the break.
I think my approach to him would be a little different. I think I would consider him a sleeper for all those good starts, but I wouldn't consider him an automatic start. So if you're not sitting a stud for him regardless of how good his matchups are. If you got a good 2-start option, you're starting him over Ober still. but he's in the mix there with a mostly favorable schedule coming up as somebody you can use if you need to.